It seems like everybody around us is getting sick right now. I don't know about you, but whenever I go out, I'm talking to people and they're like, yep, my family's sick. Or, at church, I help lead Sunday school, and Wednesday nights, our attendance is way down because families are sick. At school, when I go to the school board, I hear about kids being sick. So many people are sick. And I was thinking about this, especially since I started to get a cold. And my question was, do people with autoimmune conditions get sick easier than other people? That was my question. That was what I went to the research to figure out, because my hypothesis was, if my immune system is under attack and it's getting confused and it's attacking myself, does that mean that it is less able to attack viruses and other things that I encounter? What do you think? Before we go on to the rest of the episode, if you had to say yes or no based on your experience and based on what you know about autoimmune problems and the immune system in general, what would you say? Do you feel like people with autoimmune conditions get sick easier than everybody else? Or do you think that we're about the same? Welcome back to another episode of the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. I am so grateful that you are here. Thank you for letting me use my passion for learning about health and digging into holistic stuff and looking at root causes and reading research, and then sharing that with you. I love that I get to do something that I love, that I truly enjoy doing, and that I can share that with others and help you with your health. Thank you also if you, after the last episode, if you left a rating and review, or if you shared this podcast with a friend. It really does make a difference. So thank you very, very much if you did that. All right, so what do you think? Do you think that people with autoimmune problems get sick easier, or do you think it does not make a difference in how easily we succumb to any viruses or bacteria or getting sick in general? I went to research this, and it was kind of hard to figure out an answer. One of the very first things I clicked on was an article. It was health topics from a clinic in Barcelona. It just, popped up. It was like the top third article, I think, when I searched. And the article is, does having an autoimmune disease make you more susceptible to catching COVID-19? Now, this is from May of 2020. So, a couple years ago. And the very first sentence is, people with autoimmune disorders have been described as the population at the most risk of catching diseases. Not just COVID, but diseases in general. And I thought that was very interesting. And I wanted to know what their source was. And they did not have a source. There was no research linked to that sentence. And so I looked and I looked and I looked, and I couldn't find anything. Now, if you have more PubMed and Google Scholar skills than I do, maybe you can find something. But I could not find supporting evidence for this sentence. I could not find anywhere in credible research that people with autoimmune disorders have been described as the population at the most risk of catching diseases. We are not immune compromised. Our immune system is attacking something in our own body. That's what an autoimmune condition is. But it does not mean that the immune system is not attacking things that it's supposed to, viruses, bacteria, things that we're exposed to. Having an autoimmune problem does not mean that our immune system quits working the way it's supposed to. It just adds on another thing and starts attacking us, which is not cool. Personally, I think the biggest risk factor is on the medications you're on. And this does apply to people with autoimmune problems. With some autoimmune problems, especially like the rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, they being the medical establishment, many times will prescribe immune suppressant medications, thinking your immune system is doing too much, so we need to suppress it. We need to stop it from working. And in that case, yes, you are going to be more at risk of getting whatever is going around because your immune system cannot fight it off. So in that case, yes, but it is not because of the autoimmune problem. It's because of the medication that they put you on for the autoimmune problem. So I could not find any research saying that people with autoimmune problems get sick easier. However, here's the catch. We do have root causes that are causing the autoimmune problem. And some of those root causes put us at more risk for getting sick. So it's not the autoimmune problem that's giving us an increased risk. It's something else. If you have gone through the Hashimoto's decoded root causes, then you know what some of the root causes are. You probably know some of your root causes. The whole thing is less than an hour. Head over to school.com, SKOOL.com, join our Health with Hashimoto's community and go to the classroom tab and take that course. It'll take you about an hour, less than an hour, and you will be able to figure out, okay, these are probably some of my root causes, and then I'll help you figure out what to do with them. One of those root causes, one of the common ones, is a low vitamin D level. Now, vitamin D is very important for your immune system. It's important for keeping you healthy. It's important, obviously, for autoimmune problems because it's a root cause. So we know it's important. Have you had your vitamin D level checked? Did you go through Hashimoto's Decoded and then say, I want to know what my vitamin D level is? It's super easy to check. I think you can even get tests on Amazon. I know you can get them through FullScript. You can get them through a couple other places. Episodes 9 and 62 are all about vitamin D, and I tell you how to get it checked there. But I think the tests are usually about $40. You get a little card in the mail with a little lancet, and you poke your finger, put a couple drops of the blood on the card, send it in, and they email you your results. The recommended level varies. The most credible, up-to-date research that I have seen recommends between 80 and 100 as an ideal, also as the top. Like you don't want to go over 100. If you're over 100, then they say side effects, problems are going to start around 150. So between 80 and 100 is what I have seen. That is the recommended. When we started testing in the hospitals, I would talk to nurses, especially in the ICU, where they were doing a lot of the testing, and people were in the single digits. You want to be up in around 80. So if you've gotten your vitamin D tested, I would love to know what it is. And then, of course, you want to get it up. So back to, that root cause. We know that low vitamin D level can be a root cause for autoimmune problems. I first learned about vitamin D back in the early 2000s, and I learned about it because I was looking into the influenza vaccine, and I was doing research on what can actually protect us from influenza better or as well as the vaccine. Because working in the ER, I can't tell you how many people come through and, you swab them and you tell them, okay, you have all the symptoms for influenza. They're pretty classic. And so many of them, but I got vaccinated this year. And so I became disillusioned with that influenza vaccine very long ago. And so I wanted to know, what can I do to actually protect myself other than the government deciding that they're going to put 4 strains that might hit this year and then inject them into us. I was like, what can I do to protect myself? What can I do to help my immune system no matter what strains come through? Because this is ridiculous. So I learned about vitamin D. And I learned that it is one of the things you can do to help your body fight off respiratory viruses like influenza. So I started taking vitamin D at that time, so very early 2000s. I also started telling all of my nurse friends about it. If they ever asked me about the flu shot, I was like, and I would go into, if they were interested, sometimes even if they weren't interested, I would tell them about vitamin D and probiotics and what I was doing that was research driven and going to help protect me no matter what strains came through. But back to tying this together with vitamin D and autoimmunity and getting sick easier. So low vitamin D level is a root cause of autoimmune problems, right? Yes, check. At the same time, having a low vitamin D level does not give you the protection from respiratory viruses that an adequate vitamin D level would give you, according to the research that I have read. So you put those two things together, and a lot of people with autoimmune issues have low vitamin D, and low vitamin D, well, that doesn't help your body protect you against respiratory issues. So when I'm thinking about this, my hypothesis is that you are going to get sick easier. Not because you have an autoimmune condition, but because the same thing that is a root cause of your autoimmune issue can also it's not a root cause of a respiratory virus. The root cause of the respiratory virus is the virus itself. But if your levels are low, then you can't fight it off as well. And I'm trying to phrase this really well because I don't want to get into any claims or anything. I want to make sure that I'm staying compliant with the FTC because nothing is guaranteed in life. I'm absolutely not saying increase your vitamin D and you're never going to get sick. In fact, I have a cold right now. I just started getting it yesterday and I've been doing all the things. I'm going to tell you all the things. And I have amazing vitamin D levels. And I have a cold. I don't know if it's anything special. I don't think it is. I don't have a fever. I don't have any other symptoms except for a stuffy nose. And that's it. Just a stuffy nose. So I have a high vitamin D level right now. It's awesome. I am between that 80 and 100. I might even be a little titch over 100. And so obviously you can still get sick. All right. So does this make sense so far? Having an autoimmune condition does not make you more likely to get sick. Sometimes the medications they put you on for an autoimmune condition can make you more susceptible for getting sick. And then also some of the root causes of autoimmunity can also be things that cause your immune system to not be awesome at protecting you. All right, are we on the same page right now? I hope so. So here is what you can do if and when you start to feel sick, like you're getting a respiratory cold. And these are things that I do. A couple weeks ago, I'm guessing COVID went through our house because my husband and one of our kids lost their sense of smell. And I think I was the third to get sick. And when my husband started to get sick, he's like, okay, what did you do? What are all of the things? And I told him, I did all of the things. And he wanted to know what they all were. So I'm going to tell you all of the things, and then you can decide what to do from these. I'd seen this go through my kids, and I did not want the bad cold. Again, at the time, I did not know it was COVID, not until my husband lost his smell. So this is what I did. I started with a vitamin D, of course. There is a study that has been done that if you take extra vitamin D at the onset of symptoms, you decrease the duration of the illness and you decrease the symptoms. So I do that first. And all of these are applicable to respiratory symptoms, not anything else. And then, so I did vitamin D. I increased my supplements. I always take Protandim NRF2 and Protandim NRF1 every single morning. If you've listened to my past episodes, you know how crucial I believe those are for everybody. I do not increase my Protandim NRF1. I'm fine on that. However, the Protandim NRF2, I do increase when I am feeling sick because the Protandim NRF2 is the one that tells your body to make more antioxidants. And why would you want more vitamins in your body, more antioxidants, more things to fight? Well, it's because there's more stuff that needs fighting. Of course, you've heard of taking vitamin C and zinc when you're getting sick, right? It's because you need more things fighting off the bad guys when you're sick. So yes, absolutely, I take more Protandim NRF2 when I am feeling under the weather. I do not take it together. So it's kind of like if you've ever jumped a car. I live in Minnesota. We have to jump cars sometimes. You put the jumper cables on and you leave them on for just enough time to charge the other battery and get the car going. And then you take off the jumper cables. You do not leave them on. That would damage the car. Same thing with the NRF2. It's just to jumpstart that production. So I take my NRF2 in the morning, and then depending on how sick I'm feeling, 4 hours later, I might take another, and then at supper time, I'll also take another, or maybe bedtime. You can take it kind of depends on your budget, but I will try to do 2 to 3 times a day if I am feeling sick, because I want my body to produce more glutathione. Glutathione is one of your most powerful antioxidants in your body. It's going to, like sticky flypaper, it's going to stick to all the bad stuff and take it out. So that's one of the things I do. I was also having my garlic fermented honey. It's super easy. You put a whole bunch of cloves of garlic in a bottle, in a jar, and then you pour some raw honey into that jar, and then you let it ferment. That's it. So I always have some of that in the cupboard. I started doing that. And you get the goodness of the garlic, goodness of the honey, you get the cough suppressant and the throat soothing of all of that. Plus, both garlic and honey are antiviral and I think antibacterial. Another thing I was doing was using my rebounder. It's a fancy name for a small trampoline. Just up and down bouncing, and that is so that it moves your lymphatic system. It moves your lymph around your body. Your lymphatic system is like the garbage disposal system of your body. And of course, if you're sick, you want to get all of the trash out. So a little bit of rebounding, just like I said, it's fancy name for gentle up and down bouncing on that trampoline. 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes in the evening. I try to do that. Of course, hot steam in the bathtub. I did that. I also was using the X Clear spray. It's literally with an X and LEAR. It has xylitol in it, and it's a nasal spray because the xylitol helps prevent, I can't remember if it's preventing the replication of the virus or if it prevents it from sticking. Either way, it's something good that helps your body fight. And so I use that when I am feeling like I'm getting respiratory stuff. I also bring it with me if I'm ever going to fly in a plane or be in a crowded place. I just want to make sure that there's something that I can use to squirt up my nose to, stop any viruses from all of the other passengers. I don't want them. I don't want other people to share those with me. All right, a couple more things. Of course, essential oils. If you have a diffuser, then you probably have your favorite respiratory blends, and I have those going, in the room with me, whatever respiratory blend. I use Eden's Garden. They are my favorite essential oil company. I love them. I trust them. Their prices are amazing. Their quality is it's top notch. It was proven, they had the GCMS scores, the third-party testing, before the other big companies did. So Eden's Garden is my favorite company, and I have a couple of different respiratory blends. And then the neti pot. Have you ever used a neti pot? It's basically just saline in a little pot, and you squirt it up one side of your nose, and then you put your tongue in the back of your mouth, say a K sound, and where your tongue hits the back of the roof of your mouth, keep it there in that K sound. And that's how you kind of plug your mouth from letting the saline go into your mouth. But ideally, the neti pot, you're going to put the saline up one side of the nose. It's going to kind of wash things around, and then it's going to come out the other side of your nose, and it's going to bring snot and germs and viruses out with it. So I was using the neti pot. I can't think if I was also doing teas. So I have a couple different teas, wellness blends that have turmeric in them, or elderberry. So I have a couple of those. Now, here's a FYI. If you are taking the Protandim NRF2, you cannot take turmeric or ashwagandha or anything that's in the NRF2 with it, because it'll break the recipe. And the power from that Protandim NRF2 comes from the synergy. It comes from the exact precise ratio of those ingredients, and you don't want to break that. So when I was doing the wellness teas, I was always making sure that they were at a different time, separated by 2 hours from my Protandim. And then I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I also did extra melatonin. Not extra. I actually took melatonin at night because melatonin has been shown to help the immune system. And so while I was sick, I was doing that. Also, of course, when you have a cold or something, you can't breathe as well, so then you don't sleep as well. So I was doing the melatonin in the evening. I think that's all I was doing. It's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I did all the things. And then my husband, after I went through this list, he was like, okay, what is the most important thing? And I was like, okay, simplest, most important thing, take the Protandim NRF2 and take extra vitamins. He's like, okay, I'm going to do that. And that's the thing about your health. You get to decide what you have bandwidth for. I happen to know all of the things. And I've learned about each one of those things, and I know why they work, I know how they work, and I can decide if I want to implement them. My husband did not have the bandwidth for all that. So he's like, give me the most simple thing. And that's what he implemented. And that's what you get to do. You get to figure out what works in your life, what works here and now, and then implement. So I would love to know, what do you do when you start to feel sick? Come on over to the school community and let's chat about it. I would love to hear your remedies and what you do. Do you do the onion in the sock or the cold wet socks? I've heard of that online. Do you do colloidal silver? What do you do that I didn't mention, or even of the things that I did mention? Come on over to school.com, join our Health with Hashimoto's community, and let's talk about different remedies that people use. And I hope that you have a very healthy rest of your winter. I'll see you next week. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.